I'm Jonathan, and welcome to Abide in the Word. Today we are looking, as we start Advent at Reservoir Church, into Luke 24, and we're going to look at this resurrection account of Jesus for the whole of Advent. We just want to look at the first 12 verses for this week, but hear the word of the Lord from Luke 24. But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared, and they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they went in, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. And while they were perplexed about this, behold, two men stood by them in dazzling apparel. And as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, the men said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He's not here, but he has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified, and on the third day rise." And they remembered his words. And returning from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11 and to all the rest. And now it was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary, the mother of James, and the other women with them who told these things to the apostles. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, but they did not believe them. But Peter rose and ran to the tomb. Stooping and looking in, he saw the linen clothes by themselves, and he went home marveling at what had happened. Now, as we enter into Advent, when we approach it rightly, we recognize the gravity of waiting for the return of Christ, for his second coming. Like, we approach Christmas, and a lot of times we can do it with tinsel in our hands and Christmas songs in our heads and get nostalgic about it. But Advent, for us, rightly seen, takes in just the reality of life and the difficulty of brokenness in our world as we wait for Jesus to come and finally make things right, to make all the sad untrue in those moments when he dwells with us forever. And so we follow the invitation into Advent, preparing, going through this season of waiting for that renewal, and we recognize the pain of it. It's kind of like the women who had just watched Jesus be crucified on Friday. And Luke tells us in this gospel that they also then watched as his body was taken to this tomb to be buried, and they prepared spices and ointments because they were going to go and dress the body appropriately for burial. But Sabbath came and they rested. And for us, that Saturday waiting that they experienced, the unknown, the uncertainty, they didn't even know what to do next. They just did what they had planned, the next best thing. So it's a little dark. It's uncertain. It's unsettled. But then they go to the tomb. And I think Luke 24 is an Advent text for us because we can find ourselves in that place of wondering, of the uncertainty, the pain, the stones that seem to be in front of us. But they realize it's been rolled away. The promise of Jesus that he would come, give satisfaction for the wrath against sin, and give us forgiveness in him, and then new life now in this resurrection has happened. And it's a befuddling moment. They don't know what to do, and the angels say, "Why do you look for the living among the dead?" That's an Advent question for us because we, like the women, like all of humanity, ache for justification, ache for answers, ache for the hope that can only be found in Jesus. And too often we seek that answer, the living among the dead. We claim things of identity for ourselves that are just not true at the deepest of who we are. We pursue pleasure. We pursue even good things that become ultimate things: family, relationships, success, career, adventure, all these things that we look to when Jesus is provided as our satisfaction. But the resurrection teaches us that we can have that justification that we long for, that ache can be filled in him because the cross is final. It actually worked. Forgiveness was won there, and now God no longer interacts with us on the basis of our sin, but he interacts with us on the basis of the finished work of Christ. We can be like Peter, curious still to run to the tomb for ourselves, to see that even in our waiting, even in our longing for Jesus to return, new life has come. He's called us to live in him, bringing the kingdom to bear as we are, and to go home marveling at what had happened. This Advent, let us be people that marvel in the finished work of Christ and live a life of faith that flies, that flourishes because of what Jesus has done, granting us this new life in him, that we would be like him and experience glory with him when he returns. The clouds may get dark, the uncertainty may bubble up, but we have a confident hope because Jesus once and for all paid the price for our sin and has given us new life, that we would pursue him, experience his fullness, and call others to hope. Will you join me in that this Advent season, in inviting others into the settled hope of Jesus, his finished work, his life, death, resurrection, and ascension for you, that we can truly sing, that we can truly dance, that we can truly marvel at all that has happened. Let's stick in the Word. Let's abide in the Word together. I'm Jonathan Schrader from Reservoir Church.